Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for episode 15 of our Bloodborne series, where we're finishing up the base set of our miniatures. And today we're going to be doing the Church Servant, which is going to be the second to last miniature we're going to do out of the core set of Bloodborne. So I hope you stick around and I hope you enjoy this video. Hey, if this is your first time at the channel, why don't you hit that subscribe button? Doesn't hurt. Because next up we got Chronicles of Drunagar, Madara, and we have a ton of other stuff coming up. So stick around, you're going to want to see some of these videos. But without further ado, let's go. Alright, obviously the first thing we're going to do is scrape off all those nasty mold lines, and once they are scraped off and you're confident in how good it looks, we are going to spray it in Mechanicus Standard Gray or equivalent off camera. Once that spray paint is done drying, we're going to use a little Cygor Brown, which is a contrast paint from Citadel, and it is fantastic. Those contrast paints, I wasn't a fan at first, but I've really grown to like them. I'm not sponsored by them, so you don't have to worry about that. This channel is not important enough to sponsor. But I do enjoy them. It does save a lot of time, and that's what we're kind of focused on here if you've been watching this channel. So we want to hit all of our brown areas of the undercoat with our Cygor Brown. If you get a little bit here and there, it's not a big deal. For our pants, we're going to be using a little Wyldwood. And again, if you get a little bit on the boots, not a big deal. If you get some on our undercoat, go ahead and clean that up with some Cygor Brown. For our boots, we're going to be using a little Snakebite Leather. Again, another contrast paint from Citadel. If you're using contrast paints, the best paint color to paint over is going to be gray, a neutral gray, kind of like you're painting a wall. The next paint we're going to be hitting up is a little Black Templar, another contrast paint. We're going to be using this on the cane. We're also going to be using this on the lantern here in a minute. I probably should have done it at the same time, but I did not. So if you want to hit that lantern, just hit the exterior of it and the cross X's of the lantern. But if you don't, you can save it for just a minute. For our belt, we're going to use Rhinox Hide. If you wanted to go over with the Cygor Brown, you probably could too. The difference is minimal. I just wanted to change the tone just a little bit, but it's very minimal. You can't even really tell. For the bell on his or her waist area, we're going to be using Screaming Bell. Go figure. And we're going to use Black Templar again for the lantern. If you did this step already, obviously skip ahead or just listen to my beautiful voice. We're going to hit the exterior of our lantern and the cross X's. If you get it in the middle, not a big deal. We're going to paint that over with some white here in a minute, which is going to make kind of an OSO glowy effect on top of that. Look all right. For our buttons, we're going to be using a little Leadbelcher. Just be a little careful while you're doing this, but just hit those buttons real quick. When you are done painting the Leadbelcher, I had accidentally filmed something off camera, and that is the hands in Knight-Questors Flesh. So make sure you do that as well, or a similar paint. For our necklace carrying the bell, we're going to use a little Abaddon Black. We're going to go back to the Leadbelcher well, but this time in a dry brush. If you do want to use Leadbelcher, you can use Necron Compound, which is their dry paint for dry brushing, or Leadbelcher, whatever you want to use. And we're going to hit that stake/cane up, and we're going to hit all of that lantern. That's just going to kind of give it some nice older, weathery metal look. And for the longest portion of our base painting, we're going to use a little Corax Whiite for all of the white. So this is going to be all of our outer coat, our hat, and our face. Don't forget to do the portion, if you're looking at the model, inside of our miniature. This is going to be our foundation for our miniature. This is the focal point of our miniature because it is the biggest color on this miniature. So we're going to take a little bit of time. So Corax Whiite on the gray should only take 1, maybe 2 coats of painting, depending on how much you thinned your paint. And obviously we are thinning our paints. We're not taking it straight out of the pot. So just be a little careful. And then when we're doing the face, be a little careful as well in the inside of the robes. Just try to make your lines as nice and neat as possible from the Cygor Brown we already did. So just take your time. Put on some music or listen to a book or whatever you want to listen to and enjoy the painting. We are also going to use the white for all of our inside bits of the lantern. And what this is going to do is going to make a nice background for the yellow we're going to use here in a minute. We're going to roughly take 2 brushfuls of Nulin Oil and put it into a well of your choice. Once those 2 brushfuls are in there, we're going to take about 8 to 10 brushfuls of Lahmian Medium and mix them together. Obviously, do not put your brush into the Nulin Oil. We probably should have reversed these steps, done the Lahmian Medium first and then the Nulin Oil, but I messed this up. I'm only human. And we're going to mix those together. This is going to create a very, very, very thin wash because we do not want to overdo this. We are now going to take that wash and we are going to go over all of the white parts of the miniature. Every single one of them, including the face. Now the face, I ended up going back after this dried and redoing it with some pure Nulin Oil just to give it that really dark depth. So I would like to see that, and I would suggest that you guys do the same. Hey, while you're waiting this to dry, why don't you head over to our Instagram, which is at nerd.nights, where we're always posting new stuff whenever you get a second. For our longest part of the highlighting portion of our miniature, we're going to paint our white first, and we're going to use a white scar, which is a layer paint from Citadel. We're going to do the face first. Now the face, we want to do like any other skin portion. Is we're going to do the forehead, the nose, the cheekbones, a little bit above the mouth, and our chin, just to highlight it up just a little bit. We are then going to highlight the tops of our coat that are sticking out. You just want to kind of edge highlight this a little bit and just make it a nice little contrast from the wash that we put on and the Corax Whiite that is underneath it. We're going to concentrate on just small portions of the back and the coat of this miniature. When you are using white scar, you do not want to overload your brush. I typically get a nice point on my brush and then put it on the back of my hand or something similar to see how much paint is on my brush. We're going to do light, very light strokes, just highlighting portions of the raised areas on our coat. And we're going to be doing edge highlighting on the bottom portion of our coat just to give it that nice, subtle contrast. Again, we're focusing only on the raised areas. We want to just do nice light strokes. Do not jam your brush down that miniature's throat. Nice light strokes. And that's just going to give us a nice little contrast between the 2 colors. The purpose of this is to obviously highlight our miniature up, but if you're looking at the card art, you notice that it's a very dirty, grungy looking miniature, so we don't want to get it too bright. We want to keep it that nice dirty color. For the brim of our hat, we want to use our edge of our brush to edge highlight that entire thing. Just be very careful. It's hard to really mess this up if you're using just the edge of your brush, and we're just going to make that whole brim white. Same thing with the top portion of our hat and the very, very top portion of our hat. Now, I had messed this up before. For some reason I forgot to film this, but we used for the skin portions a Knight-Questors Flesh. So hit that up real quick if you haven't done it, which obviously you haven't because I haven't told you to do it. But hit that up real quick and then hit it with a Reikland Flesh Shade wash. Let that dry and then just re-highlight it real quick with a Knight-Questors Flesh. We're not doing anything crazy on this. We're just doing very basic color. To highlight our jacket and our belt, we're going to be using Gorthor Brown. Again, we're going to be using an edge highlight on this, and we're going to be doing nice little spots of edging around the face. Be very, 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 very careful while doing this around the face. If you get it some on the face or on the white, obviously just highlight the color that is on there, whether it be Corax Whiite or White Scar. Just be very careful because that brown probably will stick through. Again, we're taking our time when we're edge highlighting this, just going over nice and slow. If you accidentally get too much on one spot, just use your finger and blot it out real quick. It might look a little weird for a second, but it'll be fine, trust me. And we're going to use the same color while painting the edge portions of our belt. To highlight our buttons, we're going to use a little Ironbreaker. And to highlight our bell, we're going to use a little Sycorax Bronze. That's going to make it obviously a nice bronzy look with a nice undertone. To do some edge highlighting on our pants, we're going to use a little Baneblade Brown. We're just going to use this and basically trace the entire area around our miniature. Pants, I mean. And don't forget that little back portion that's sticking out. For our boots, we're going to be using a little Tallarn Sand, and that is just going to give us a nice little two-tone from the Snakebite Leather to our boots. You don't want to go overboard on this because it's easy to make it look kind of crappy on boots. So hit the raised areas and little portions that you might think would be beneficial to if the sun were hitting it. So don't go crazy on it. Less is more in this instance. For our lantern and the highlights of it, we're going to use a little Iyanden Yellow. Now this is a magical color, contrast color from Citadel. The orange and the yellow mixed together looks fantastic as flame. It's awesome. one-stop shop for it. I'm going to use some also around the lantern to kind of give it a little OSL brightness look. You don't have to do that. That's just what I'm doing. And finally, we're going to paint our base a little Abaddon Black, or whatever color you want to be in. That's it. And that's it. You did it. Looks fantastic. Looks pretty good for a tabletop standard and not a lot of time. Obviously, you got to do 4 of these, but it looks good. I just want to say thank you for everybody who is watching the channel, who is a subscriber, and who actually enjoys watching these videos. It's awesome to hear the comments and to respond to you guys and everybody who really enjoys these paintings and these tutorials. It makes me happy. So see you on the next one. Paint on.